You are now entering Clearview, Illinois. Tonight's tale is What About Maple Avenue? The sound of a truck backing up caught Laura's attention. She plopped the mop back in the bucket and rushed to the window. She saw someone moving into the old Simon house. That house had been vacant for some time due to the unpleasantness that happened with the last owner. Laura peeped from her window for quite some time, attempting to get a glimpse of the type of person that might live there. She saw a tall, lanky black man in his early 20s who wasn't moving boxes, and she took that to be the owner. She didn't see any children or a woman, so she thought it safe to assume he was a bachelor. The presence of eyes on him prompted him to turn Laura's direction. He didn't get a glimpse of anything but gently swaying curtains. Not 3 hours later, Laura had baked a pie and assembled all the other housewives and Glenn at her house. There were 6 of them in all, each with a prepared dish of their specialty. With food as a smokescreen for snooping, the assembled welcome party beelined across the street to greet their new neighbor. Laura rang the bell. There was a fumbling that happened on the other side of the door before the tall, objectively if not non-conventionally handsome man answered. He wore a UIC college sweatsuit.
"Hello, I'm Laura. This is Amanda, Jennifer, Karen, April, and Glenn," she said, motioning to everyone in turn. "We just wanted to welcome you to the neighborhood," she continued. "We all made you something. This is my award-winning apple pie," she said while handing it over to him.
"Thank you, I'm Buckley Marshall. I'd shake, but my hands are dirty from straightening up." "Say, why don't you all come in?" said Buckley, knowing he couldn't juggle 6 dishes. The assembled welcoming committee were nearly on their way in before he finished his invitation. His house was completely in disarray from the move. Laura noticed where Miss Simon used to always sit was so clean that the hardwood must have been replaced in that spot and refinished. Buckley led the women and Glenn to the kitchen, and each placed a dish down on the kitchen island. The 6 took stock of all of Buckley's scattered belongings, attempting to piece together hidden meaning behind them. Buckley rummaged through a box that said kitchen and produced plates and silverware.
"Oh no, we don't want to intrude," spoke Karen with a slight inflection that she absolutely did want that.
"This is a lot of food. I won't be able to eat it all by myself, even if I freeze some of it. It'll give us a chance to get to know each other anyways. Do you like wine?" Buckley asked. All the women and Glenn chuckled at the statement. Before long, they all had a cup of wine in one hand and a plate in the other. The questions they asked might have seemed innocuous and innocent, but under the surface it was designed to collect fragments of information to fit into a grander narrative that would be the determining factor of how they treated him at all. Laura couldn't put her finger on why, but she felt something didn't quite add up. A single 20-something man who claimed to be an architect who moved into a house where their neighbor died mysteriously? Of course, the price had to have been lower because of that, but it felt a lot like he was running from something. Though they all had a cordial and all-in-all delightful time, that didn't stop these bored housewives and Glenn from picking him apart the moment they got back to Laura's house. The next day, Laura ran into Deputy Clifton on accident, but very much on purpose. If she frequented his coffee shop, it was only a matter of time before the handsome deputy showed up. Laura made sure to put on her makeup, her tightest dress, and smallest top that revealed hints of cleavage, enough to convey she was sexy, but not so much to disrespect her marriage. The young sheriff's deputy entered the coffee shop without a care. He smiled at her when he saw her. How could he not? As he turned his attention back to coffee, that was when Laura intervened.
"Oh, excuse me, Deputy Clifton. It's me, Laura Tony."
"Oh, hi, Mrs. Tony. I remember you from the..." Clifton trailed off. "What can I do for you?" he asked bluntly, knowing that this could drag on if he let it.
"Well, someone moved into our neighborhood, into the old Simon place. I was just wondering what type of person might do that.
Someone that's not superstitious and wanted to save money, I'd assume, said Clifton, who picked up his coffee and sipped it.
Yes, that could be it, I'll grant you. But what if it isn't?
Clifton took in a deep breath. The magical and most terrifying words were, "What if?" For his own reasons, he was haunted by what if. "I'll see what I can do," was the most definite Clifton could commit to. Laura nodded and didn't push the issue. She found that at times, if she were nice enough, she could lean on the cops and retrieve little tidbits of information. Later that night, she called a war council with the other wives, and Glenn. Laura liked to dress up these tactical gossip sessions as book club meetings, but in all honesty, they had been reading Frankenstein for a year now. What these get-togethers were really about was talking shit about people in town they didn't like. Laura left out a proper spread of meats and cheeses while the girls, and Glenn, gossiped.
I googled Buckley Marshall, and you should have seen some of the Facebook posts he made 5 years ago. It's absolutely shameless, said Karen.
Laura's husband, Howard, happened to wander into the living room while they were speaking and snagged himself pepperoni and mozzarella cheese. He scoffed loudly and said, "What would that have made him, 17? Said Howard, while nearly instantly extracting himself from these little bitch fits, as he secretly called it. The group all looked to Howard, said nothing, then picked up exactly where they left off.
I can account for 2 years from 19 to 21, said Amanda. I have an inside source, explained Laura.
The rest of the group nodded in approval. They had always heard about Laura's mystery contact, but didn't know exactly who they were.
What sort of person would live in a house like that? Said Glenn. I know, Laura agreed.
The book club spent the rest of the night in open speculation of worst-case scenarios until the point that this Buckley character could have been John Wayne Gacy the way they told it. Buckley was getting used to the sounds of the house. He wasn't a superstitious man, which was the reason why he bought a house with such a uniquely macabre back history. Sure, old people just tended to die from time to time with little prompting from the outside world. But it was the state they found this woman in that would make even a rational man of science shudder. He watched Netflix and couldn't help but to glance at the slightly off-colored hardwood that they had to replace because the remains of Miss Simon was so desiccated it warped the wood. Mrs. Simon sat in her recliner decomposing for months, minus her head. It was said that she was very immobile at the end of her life, so she had a helper monkey named Keystone. As the rumor went, the monkey sat by her side for months after her death, and soon began collecting things using her skull as his basket. When she was finally found, it was without the monkey or her head. All that aside, that was the reason he got the place for so cheap. On top of it all, it was a fairly big place, and though it was his starter home, perhaps this could be the house he started a family. Whenever he did grow a family, he decided that maybe it'd best to keep the creepiest parts of this house's origins to himself. Buckley slipped into a half-conscious trance, staring at the colors of the television more than absorbing any actual information about what he was watching. A loud thud happened, shaking him loose from his dreamlike haze. The alarm bells didn't go off in his head just yet, because it could easily just be something that was improperly packed falling over. Even still, he'd be a fool not to at least check it out. Buckley crept up the stairs slowly but cautiously. No makeshift weapons drawn, because he wasn't the type to jump to conclusions. He felt a breeze the moment he got upstairs. He noticed one of the windows open a fourth of the way, in a barren room. He didn't recall opening it, but it could have easily been done by one of the movers. He turned on the light and casually checked the closet, just in case. There was nothing there, though for the life of him he couldn't tell what made the sound in the first place. He ventured back down the stairs and heard footsteps. Now Buckley was concerned. He didn't believe in ghosts, so that thought never entered his mind. He quietly traveled back up the stairs, rifling through his things for anything that might be used as a weapon. He slowly dug out a trophy he had won for an outstanding architectural design. It was pyramid-shaped and almost reminded you of a perfectly geometric waffle cone. He saw a shadow move in another room on the second floor. He decided to deal with it now rather than later. He charged towards the bathroom. He turned on the light and he instantly saw the dim silhouette of a person behind the shower curtain. It was hard to tell if it was real or just a dark shadow. It didn't move in the slightest. He reared back with his trophy waiting and reached out to pull the plastic. As he was about to yank the curtain, he felt a sharp pinch in the back of his neck. Fumbling weakly for what bit him, he pulled a tiny metal needle from his skin. His eyes started to become heavy, and he had to sit down lest he fall down. Slowly, the shower curtains inched open. When Buckley awoke, he felt himself bound to a thick tree. Standing in front of him were 6 figures in hoods and cloaks, each of them holding lit torches. "For your crimes against decency, we sentence you to death," said a female voice. "What crimes?" Buckley said with sobering clarity. "When you were 19, you were accused of rape, and we cannot let that go unpunished." "How do you even know that? That was expunged from my record." "Never mind that. Do you wish to die with a clean conscience or not?" "The reason it was expunged was because the judge knew it wasn't malicious. Zara's family felt some kind of way about me because I'm black. I was 19, and she was 16, a week from 17.
Still, unacceptable behavior."
"What the fuck do you mean? Unacceptable to who? To what?"
"Maple Avenue holds ourselves to a higher standard."
"You think you can just get away with doing this shit?"
"Well, the only reason you even got that house is because we did. Standards need to be met, and the old and dying are not exempt from the laws of common decency," said the hooded woman.
The assembled tribunal all lit their torches onto the wood that was already ceremonially placed. They watched with indifferent eyes as Buckley screamed and thrashed. Howard grabbed his morning coffee and kissed Laura, who had breakfast laid out. He sat down to eat, nibbling here and there. He spoke. "Have you seen Buckley Marshall? Nobody's seen him in a few days."
"Who?" Laura asked with confusion.
"The neighbor across the street. You and the girls and Glenn were gossiping about him a few days back."
"Oh yeah, right," said Laura, as if she couldn't quite recall.
"Oh well, I didn't know the man. Maybe he took a vacation, or his hours are odd," Howard said with little concern. He grabbed his mug and briefcase, kissed Laura, and bounced out of the door to work. Laura moved to the front room and bent the curtain to watch her husband leave. She then looked at the old Simon house and smiled. "You are now exiting Clearview, Illinois. Hope you enjoyed the trip."